Hello my dear health seekers, Inga from Health Origins here, and today I've got an exciting recipe. I'm going to be making a rhubarb crumble without any refined sugar and any oil. So let's begin. I've already pre-chopped about 5 quite large rhubarb sticks here into my pot. So I'm going to show you how I prepare the rhubarb. So basically rhubarb normally has the skin that you want to get rid. So once you trimmed the ends, then you just take the skin from one of the ends and just drag it along until it peels off itself. Some peel off nicer like this, some don't peel all the way, but it doesn't matter. See here, it didn't quite peel off from the bottom, but that doesn't matter. It means the rhubarb is quite young, so it doesn't, the skin is quite tender and it's fine. We'll just chop it up. You can also go from the other side a little bit and see if it peels a little bit more. So just, see how you can just grab it from the other side and just see, how far it peels. And then all I do is I just basically chop it into thin slices, and that's the rhubarb done. So I've done about 6 sticks like I mentioned. So you could, if you're just doing a small batch, then just do about 3 sticks of rhubarb. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put my pot on so it heats up. We want the rhubarb to stew here. And while it's stewing, I'm going to explain a couple of other ingredients to you. So I've got 2/3 of a cup of sultana puree or raisin puree. You could use date puree here as well. You'd probably be enough with about 1/2 cup if you're using date puree, because dates are a bit sweeter than the raisins. Raisins have a little bit of tang as well as sweetness. But what I did was I had a cup of raisins, or sultanas in this case, I think. So I poured boiling water on my sultanas and let it sit for about 1/2 an hour. Then I've kind of washed and drained the sultanas. I didn't wash them, like I've drained the water that I've just obviously soaked them in, and then I pureed with my stick blender until it became a paste. So that's basically what that is. Then I also have 1/3 of a cup of actual sultanas, because I love sultanas in my crumbles. So I'm adding those. That's optional. If you're not a fan, then you don't need to add those. And while the rhubarb is stewing, we'll make our crumble top. So I've got 1 cup of oats that I'm going to add to my bowl. Then I've got 1 cup of ground almonds. So I took 1/2 cup of almonds and blended them myself until it became like an ground almond flour, if you want. Almond flour and ground almonds are slightly different. Almond flour could be defatted almonds, so that's not what you want. You want actually ground almonds. So you can either buy ground almonds or make them yourself. So 1/2 cup of almonds ground up in your spice blender, or even food processor, or if you got like NutriBullet, like these little blenders, that's great. Or even in your blender you could try. So that's 1 cup of ground almonds. Then I'm gonna put a big pinch of salt, because that kind of just brings out that sweetness and that kind of adds to that crumble taste. I'm gonna just give it a little mix. I need my spatula. So I'm gonna mix these dry ingredients first. And now, because this is kind of like a double recipe I'm making, so if you're making a smaller batch, maybe half the ingredients, I'm gonna put 4 tablespoons of maple syrup. If you really want to avoid any kind of sugar whatsoever, even maple syrup, you don't believe in maple syrup, then what you could do instead, you know, instead of adding a cup of ground almonds, do just half a cup of ground almonds, and also put a few tablespoons of either peanut butter or almond butter or any kind of nut butter, and then, you know, make it into crumbs that way. But I'm using a bit of maple syrup because maple syrup is very little refined. So I'm gonna need 4 tablespoons. So this is finishing. So I need more maple syrup here. So in fact, I'll probably add 3 to start with and see how we get on. So 2. So 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. And I'm gonna mix it up. Basically, our aim is to make this mixture into kind of uniform crumbles or clumps, if you like. And that's just happening nicely. So once you mix it pretty much as you can with a spatula, I normally like going in with my clean hands and kind of just going through it to make those crumbs a little bit finer and make sure it's very uniform. So just breaking through bigger clumps and so on. So yeah, so I think that's sufficiently sticky, really. I don't think we need to add the 4th tablespoon of maple syrup. That will be great. So yeah, so this crumble mixture is ready. I'm gonna wash my hands and we're gonna check our rhubarb. Oh my goodness, the rhubarb is smelling so delicious. So it's starting to produce some water at the bottom there. So I'm gonna just mix it through. So you basically want the whole rhubarb to really soften. And I'm not sure how watery this will get, but I've got 1 tablespoon of potato starch here with 2 tablespoons of water in this kind of slurry. Or you could use arrowroot powder or even cornstarch you could use just to thicken if it gets too watery. If the rhubarb gets too watery, then we might need to add a little bit of that slurry to thicken it up. But for now, it's looking all right. So I'm gonna add my raisins because I like them to cook a little bit. So I'm gonna add my raisins, and I'm leaving the raisin paste until the end. We don't need to really be cooking it. So I've added my raisins and I'm gonna let it stew on kind of medium-low for probably another 5 minutes or so. So it looks like the rhubarb has sufficiently softened. There's a few larger pieces, but that's kind of what we want. So I'm gonna add my raisin or date paste if you're using date paste. Switching that off, I'm gonna mix it in, and I don't think we need to use any slurry. I don't think, because it's not that watery. So just mixing that through, and I'm gonna be pouring it into my glass container. There we go, just uniformly distribute. And then the fun part is putting the crumble at the top. I love this part, I don't know why, but it's just, I think it's a pretty fun thing to do. You could do this with kids as well. Let them, you know, put the crumble topping on. And once kids actually feel like they contributed to a dish, to a meal, they've cooked part of it, then they're more likely to eat it as well. So that is it. It's looking beautiful. So now I've preheated my oven on a 190 degrees fan oven, or if yours is non-fan oven, so about 200 degrees, and I'm going to be baking this for about 30-35 minutes. The rhubarb crumble is ready. Look at this beauty. It looks and smells so delicious. So let me give this a go. Oh wow, it's so nice and tangy. There's a bit of sweetness coming from the crumble. If you like your crumble sweeter, I would say serve it with a bit of maple syrup perhaps on top, or maybe double up your sultana paste inside the crumble. But if you don't have a sweet tooth, this is going to be perfect for you, because it's got this nice kind of slight bit of sweetness and quite a bit of tang coming from rhubarb, of course. So yeah, so depending whether you like it sweeter, add a little bit of maple syrup or a bit more date paste when baking it. Yeah, so this is a success. Refined sugar and oil-free healthy rhubarb crumble. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe for more videos just like this on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And remember, food is fuel, so be mindful of what you put in the body. Until next time.